Alrighty guys, it is Qaaman here today, and I'm bringing you another questionnaire, and I am joined with a very special guest.
Hello, my name is Harold Van Huge Muscles, but my enemies called me the Angry Austrian.
And what will we be doing in this video today, Harold?
We're going to be answering the puny questions of the puny Ask FM people that are sending you the questions because they're not working on the pecs in the gym.
I see. Well, the thing is, Harold, is I know that you got to go to the gym really soon, so I noticed that, you know, you're a good friend of Mike from Laughingstock Media, and I thought it'd be cool to bring you in this Ask.fm questionnaire today because, you know, you said you know a little bit about Dragon Ball, so without wasting any more time, let's get straight into this video. So, Harold, what do you think about this first question here?
Do you think the Tarble will be in this Dragon Ball Super? I don't know. I mean, he's a little manlet. He's even weaker and smaller than Vegeta, so I don't know if I really want him to actually be in it. Do I think he actually will? Maybe, maybe not. Who the hell knows?
Well, interesting enough, Harold, do you actually think that Akira Toriyama originally thought about Tarble, or do you think he just filled him in similar to what he did with Tights?
Well, obviously, I mean, they specifically said throughout Dragon Ball that he was one of the only few Saiyans left with the Goku and the Vegeta, so clearly there would be no Tarble, so he just thought of him on the spot and was like, fuck it, I don't care about continuity.
I see. Well, I think there's a good chance that Tarble would be in Dragon Ball Super, and the reason why I'm saying this, Harold, is because if you look at Yosun Goku and his friends return, obviously there's somewhat of a sync up, because obviously Goku was a radish farmer in Yosun Goku and his friends return, and he was a radish farmer in Dragon Ball Super, so obviously it's not out of the realm of possibility, but I do think if Tarble actually does come back in the series, he's not going to have a major role.
No, probably not.
Yeah. Good question, Lamar Gallimore. Alright, let's see here. If Piccolo fused with Piccolo Daimao, for those of you who don't know, Piccolo Daimao is Evil King Piccolo, would he be conflicted again within himself like he was shown in flashbacks? Another one by Lamar Gallimore. What do you have to say to this, Harold?
Well, all I know is he'd probably be twice as muscular, which is the most important thing in the world. Why would you want to be conflicted about being muscular when you can go to the gym and show off to the hot women, and show off your pecs and your biceps and the triceps?
Well, the thing is, I mean, if he fused with Piccolo Daimao, I think that it would be kind of weird considering that Piccolo is actually a reincarnation of, you know, Piccolo Daimao. He's essentially kind of like a clone.
Yeah, so he'd be reincarnating his gains.
Right, so, but I do think that they could possibly gain somewhat in power. I mean, but I would think it would be somewhat of the likes of just a normal additional Namekian gain, not like, you know, two halves being, you know, one and the same. But that's actually a very good question here. Alright, let's see. Harold, why don't you take this one?
If you were in the ZBZ or the Dragon Ball, who would you want to be trained by to become the Super Saiyan? I can't spell the word, or neither can I speak German. And why to choose him or her? Obviously I would want to be Android 16 because he looks just like me and he's the most muscular android that ever lived.
Well, if I was in Dragon Ball, the Dragon Ball world, I would probably, even though he's my favorite character, I wouldn't want to be trained by Piccolo considering his harsh training methods. I would probably want to be trained by Master Roshi. I think that he's be pretty cool. He doesn't seem that strict.
And he's the most muscular old man of all time.
Yes, he is definitely the most muscular old man of all time. And I think that we'd have, you know, a nice little, you know, time on the beach, you know, hang around, you know, and, you know, probably we could watch some videos together. But yeah, that would be pretty interesting if we were in the Dragon Ball world. But I don't think he could teach me how to become a Super Saiyan. But then again, I'm not really a fighter. But I know you're a fighter, Harold.
Yeah, I fight to maximize my gains.
Alright. Will we ever hear you sing by Leonard Leandro? Well, very good question. I'm not really a singer. I mean, I might hum something every now and then so people can know what song I'm talking about. But if you really want to hear a singer, you guys need to check out Big D from Geekdom 101. He sings a song every single time he does his Dragon Ball, you know, his Dragon Ball podcast with Super J. And so he's really cool. Harold, what do you have to say?
I am Hello Van Huge Muscles. I have the biggest muscles in the world. Yeah, I like to sing. I should be nominated for the Grammy.
Well, Harold, I think that you have a great accent, my friend. Alright, let's see here. Do you think Gogeta/Vegeta would have really been too weak to fight against Beerus? I call bullshit. What do you say to this one, Harold?
Well, I mean, come on, he's got the cat gains. I mean, he's the animal, he's the beast in the gym, which is why he's the purple cat, you know. I mean, come on, obviously, this scrawny little Gogeta Vegeta with his freaking blonde hair and blue eyes, thinking he's an alien like me. You know, he couldn't stand a chance against the beast that is Beerus. But then again, he's too skinny. He needs to go to the gym, need some protein powder. So I don't know.
Well, Harold, that's a very good point, but the thing is that in terms of actual muscle size, Beerus is significantly scrawnier than both Gogeta and Vegeta, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I mean, you would assume that the Vegeta and the Gogeta would win because they got the biceps and the triceps with Beerus. He just seems to be the scrawny little cat, but as we know, the beast is always greater than the man. He's got those animal gains.
Well, Josh from Dragon Ball Nation has always brought up a point, even though there's not enough evidence to clearly say it, that Goku didn't directly say that fusion wouldn't work. He said he doesn't think it could work, and this is considering the fact that he had just woken up, from being knocked out by Beerus with a chop to the neck. So when you factor that in, I do think that Gogeta and Vegeta could possibly hold their own better. But to beat him is a whole completely different story. And the whole thing about people saying that, God Ki means that you're stronger, that's not necessarily true, because considering the fact that Super Saiyan God Goku, fought up against a 70% Beerus, and pure Super Saiyan God Goku, I'm not going to use that garbage name. I know it's official. I just refuse to say that SSGSS title. But if you consider the fact that that form of Goku was able to essentially fight against Frieza, who wasn't technically a god, from what I've seen in Fakatsu no F, and he was losing, that obviously leads me to believe that God Ki doesn't necessarily mean you're stronger or weaker than somebody. It's just a different type of energy that can't be sensed in the same realm as, you would sense another being.
Yeah, all we know is that when someone goes God, apparently they lose all the muscles. Apparently God equals CrossFit, and I hate CrossFit.
Yeah, well, I guess that calls it for this one, Robert. Good question. All right, take this one, Harold.
Do you believe the other Super Saiyan forms could be mastered similar to Super Saiyan 1? I mean, I hope so. I mean, the more muscular, so you'd want to master them. Why the hell would you want to be the scrawnier other Super Saiyan forms when you could be this muscular Super Saiyan 3 or the 4? Or the Ultra Super Saiyan? Come on, screw the speed advantage. You got to be like the Broly without being a little bitch.
I definitely think so, guys, but this goes back more to the lines of, actually writing in the series. And when you also consider the fact that, they did, utilize, for the SSGSS form, the Goku obviously used and maximized his God Ki with his Super Saiyan transformation. And I do think it's possible, but at this point of the series, from what Toriyama had stated, Harold, and you were also pointing back a while back, that Toriyama has said on multiple occasions that he's not really looking to expand more about the additional Super Saiyan transformations, and they'd focus a lot more on just one Super Saiyan transformation, obviously now with God. So I don't think we're really going to see that for the series.
The only thing they need to expand from now on is the muscles.
Definitely, Harold. They definitely need to get back to the muscles. I'm not gonna lie to you, I do kind of prefer the more muscular characters as opposed to the slimmer build, but it's still okay. Okay. Can Gohan go Super Saiyan 2 after the Buu Saga? Does it do anything for him? Take this one, Harold.
Well, obviously go Super Saiyan 2 after the Buu Saga, considering he does it in the Fukatsu no F, but obviously that's only because he got weaker. We all know that the one with the black hair, the little scrawny Japanese, is the strongest out of all of them with the mystic culture form, whatever the hell it's called.
Well, Harold, the thing is that when you look at Gohan, obviously, I do think he could definitely turn Super Saiyan 2. From Fakatsu no F, spoiler alert, he didn't go Super Saiyan 2. At least it didn't seem he turned Super Saiyan 2. Fakatsu no F, there wasn't enough signs to indicate that. So, if he did, I just think he's still going to be strong enough to go basic Super Saiyans. But in terms of going a Super Saiyan 3 or, maximizing his potential with that Elder Kai unlock ability, Ultimate Gohan, whatever you want to call him, Gohan the Strongest Warrior, whatever term people use to describe him, I think those days are over for him.
Yeah, probably.
Okay, let's see. Omega Shenron versus Super Saiyan 4 Goku, Vegeta, Nova, and Ice Shenron. Well, good question. Well, I definitely have to say that Omega is definitely stronger than all of those characters individually, if that's what you're asking. If you're asking how he would perform against them on the team, that's a very good question. Well, here's the thing, and I'm going to really point this out. Number one, Omega Shenron is essentially... When he is Omega Shenron, he is comprised of Nova and Ice Shenron, considering the fact that he does have all the powers of the Shadow Dragons. So obviously, it's basically like adding Nova and Ice to him. It's like saying, how would Super Buu with Gohan absorbed and Gotenks absorbed perform against Gotenks and Gohan? Well, obviously he'd be stronger because he has his own power plus theirs. So I would say that if you're gonna put all four of them, considering the fact that, and Josh also pointed out that Super Saiyan 4 Goku and Super Saiyan 4 Vegeta are significantly stronger than Nova and Ice. In his opinion, I don't think they're significantly stronger. I think they're a good deal stronger. I'd say that if Omega was having no problem beating Goku and Vegeta as two Super Saiyan 4s individually, that leads me to believe that Nova and Ice wouldn't really add much to the fight, unless they used a technique that could really take him down. And this is kind of hard to say because it's impossible to be Omega Shenron and then fight against those two at the same time anyways. But this was a good question, Michael, but I'm going to go with Omega Shenron here.
Yeah, as we know, the Super Saiyans are certainly muscular, but the Omega Shenron is jacked.
Alright, take this one, Harold.
What if Captain Ginyus stayed in the Goku's body? Well, obviously Captain Ginyus was more muscular, so you'd assume that he'd want to stay in his own body. I mean, he wouldn't be able to get the awesome Super Saiyan 2 and the Super Saiyan 3 and the 4 billion Super Saiyan, so I would assume that he'd want to be the jacked, swole, purple monster machine that he was.
I mean, if he stayed in Goku's body, I mean, you remember, Harold, from what we were looking at earlier in the series, there was a point where when Captain Ginyu was in Goku's body, he was learning how to actually maximize his power, but obviously wasn't strong enough to be a threat for Vegeta. So I think if he stayed in his body, he'd be a pretty good henchman for Frieza. Maybe if he can, maximize Goku's potential more, he could even be an even better henchman than he would have been in Ginyu's body. But, I mean, over time, I just don't think it would have made that much of a difference in the series. If he stayed in his body, I mean, unless he could somehow defeat Vegeta, which I doubt at the time, I just don't think he would have made that big of a difference in the series. But it all depends on what scenario you're talking about.
I mean, in the long run, I would assume he would just stay weaker than Goku ever could have gotten, because he wouldn't know how to train his muscles in the gym, you know what I mean? He would just stay the same. He would never get the Super Saiyans with the blonde hair and the blue eyes,
And what about the Kaioken, Harold?
I mean, obviously he doesn't know what that is, so I would assume he would never be able to master it.
That's true. Even though he did see him using it, he probably wouldn't actually know how to actually utilize it, because obviously Goku spent a while actually trying to actually utilize the Kaioken technique. But this is a good question. Alright, Harold, have you ever watched Hunter x Hunter? Because I haven't.
Yes, I have watched the Hunter x Hunter with the scrawny little Gohan who thinks he's the Goku, but he is not. It is a pretty good show.
How would you compare, really quick, how would you compare Hunter x Hunter to Dragon Ball or any other show you've seen?
I mean, this is very similar to a combination of the Dragon Ball and the Yu Yu Hakusho, except, the characters are not as manly and muscular, but it is a pretty good show, aside from the fact that they get stuck too long talking to the muscular ants.
Alright, well, would you definitely recommend it for those who haven't seen it?
Yeah, check it out when you're not working out, which should be every hour of every day of every minute of every second.
Of every millisecond, Harold.
Do it!
Well, I've never watched Hunter x Hunter, so that's my response. Alright, does Goku know how to blow himself up? Well, I mean, from what we were seeing, obviously GT, obviously some people are, if you don't look at that as a legitimate continuation of the series or not, that's up for grabs. But I mean, if you do look at Dragon Ball GT, it was implied that Goku did know how to blow himself up, and it doesn't really seem like blowing yourself up is really much of a technique. You're just basically utilizing your Kai and your life force to essentially explode yourself. And Chaozu did that very early on the series too. So I mean, when you factor all of that in, I think Goku could. Obviously, he probably wouldn't do it, but I definitely think almost all the Z fighters would probably have the knowledge on how to blow themselves up if they ever needed to. What do you say?
I mean, considering that Vegeta did it, I would assume that Goku could. Whatever Vegeta can do, the more masculine, taller, less manlet version of him could do it too.
Yeah, well, I think that, I mean, it pretty much applies for all Z fighters though, so this is a good question. Alright, let's see. First form Frieza versus Piccolo pre-nail. I'm actually gonna have to say first form Frieza, and the reason why I say this is if you guys remember very, very carefully that when Nail was severely injured on the floor before Piccolo came, well, you know, after fighting Frieza, Nail looks at Piccolo and he says to himself, you don't stand a chance against Frieza the way you are. And keep in mind, this is a Nail. Obviously, he might be able to sense Ki at the time, and obviously sense, you know, Frieza, but you remember, this is a Nail who fought against a suppressed Frieza in his first form. So Nail, with just that glimpse of Frieza's power, was able to indicate to himself that Piccolo, the way he was, wasn't able to do it, which leads me to believe that I don't think Piccolo would have stood a chance against Frieza in his first form. Obviously, it's kind of weird how fusing with Nail could basically put Piccolo from being significantly weaker than Frieza in his first form all the way to being, you know, stronger than his second form, but I guess that's just the way it is, and quite honestly, I've always said that Piccolo, after his training with King Kai, I would put him probably around the strength of a Ginyu Force member. I'd say he's probably weaker than Goku, for sure, and I also think he's weaker than Vegeta after getting a Zenkai boost from Raccoon, but I think he could probably handle the mid-tier Ginyu Force members, maybe not Ginyu, but I think he's probably around that strength, because I wouldn't say he'd be that much stronger than Nail, if at all. What do you say to that?
Yeah, the Natty Namekian would not stand a chance of the steroid using Frieza. It's a shame, but of course, that is how it works in bodybuilding.
Alright, well, this is a good question, Michael. I noticed that Michael and Robert are asking some good questions here, and it's very funny, they both have extremely generic names.
Yeah, I mean, that scrawny little Mike, he keeps trying to run the Laughingstock media channels, but he's no match for my muscles.
Alright, let's see here. We have Piccolo versus Martian Manhunter. Well, this is a big question. I did this a while back with Duct Tape from Comic Corner, and in that video, we were actually discussing it. I'm obviously not a big, you know, comic book guy, so I'm not going to say things that I don't know. From what Duct Tape was saying, Martian Manhunter probably wouldn't be physically strong enough to defeat Piccolo, but because of his ability to essentially liquefy himself and move around, it basically put it at a stalemate for both characters. Harold, I know you're good friends with Mike, and I know that Mike is very knowledgeable about actual comics himself. So from what your knowledge is, Harold, how would you think Piccolo would perform against Martian Manhunter?
That is a pretty difficult question. Both of them can increase the mass and thus increase the muscles. I mean, both of them seem like they would be able to match up pretty well in terms of strength and speed and muscularity, but I would have to give it to the Natty Namekian because of the fact that he's got the power. He's got so much gains, he could shoot out the fire from his muscles and blow up the Martian. He wouldn't stand a chance because his weakness is the fire, as we all know.
Well, from what Duct Tape was saying, I mean, Martian Manhunter even scares Superman in terms of his, you know, ability to affect people, go in their minds, basically make them hallucinate. And I think that Piccolo is a very strong mental character, and
yeah, but the Piccolo, he's got the muscular brain too, so he can use the muscular psychic abilities, and he could block all the Martian Manhunter's attacks.
So you're saying it's the muscles in his brain that could probably stop it?
Yeah.
Well, I think there's a, I mean, at the end of the day,
he does those brain push-ups.
And what about in terms of speed, Harold?
Obviously, the Piccolo would beat them. Piccolo's faster than the Superman despite his awesome muscularity.
Well, I mean, at the end of the day, guys, I mean, I think, you know, all these, like, cross-universe fights are fun. It's very hard to get a direct answer, but I think in terms of power, from what I've been told from Duct Tape and Harold and Mike, I think that, you know, Piccolo probably has more power than Martian Manhunter, but because of Martian Manhunter's ability to, like, liquefy himself and to make people go insane, I think it makes it kind of a hard fight for either one of them to win. But
I don't know, Martian Manhunter is very inconsistent. I mean, he got killed by a flaming dagger, but that's only because his pecs were not as strong as my own.
Alright, well, I guess that concludes it for this one. Let's just spitball these last few questions here. Alright, Super Saiyan 3 Goku versus Omega Shenron?
I have no idea what the hell that is.
Maybe he made a typo with the Shenron, but
that is one pretty big typo.
I think, I mean, the thing is, okay, I do understand that Super Saiyan 4, although there's no official, you know, multiplier for Super Saiyan 4, the reason why Josh from Dragon Ball Nation has calculated that it has to be at least a minimum of a 10 times multiplier is considering the fact that Baby went into his Great Ape form, and was essentially able to fight on par with Super Saiyan 4 Goku. Obviously, this is prior to, Bulma, revitalizing him with the Bloods waves. And also when you factor in that Super Saiyan 3 Kid Goku was so much weaker than Baby Vegeta, and when he went Super Saiyan 4, he was on a completely different level, and he was strong enough to fight against the baby, who theoretically may have gotten a 10 times boost, because we know that, the grade 8 form multiplies by 10 times. So that's why people always say that Super Saiyan 4 has to at least be a 10 times multiplier of a Super Saiyan 3. And I think that because of that, I would say that Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta is so much stronger than Omega Shenron that I could theoretically see him beating him as a Super Saiyan 3, but I'm not. It's just hard to say because 10 times is so much of a difference in power. Maybe he could hold his own, but I'm not sure if he could beat him as a Super Saiyan 3, but I think he could hold his own, but he could definitely kill him as a Super Saiyan 4. Good question, Michael. What do you say, Harold?
I mean, we have no real idea. I mean, obviously, he seems so much stronger than the Omega Shenron despite his muscle advantage when he was a Super Saiyan 4, but I mean, the Super Saiyan 3 compared to the Super Saiyan 4 is kind of scrawny, so I would say Super Saiyan 4 is the only way he could win.
Alright, so let's see this one here. Oh boy, Harold, why don't you get these next two and I'll take the last four.
Super Saiyan God Bardock versus the Frieza. Well, obviously, Bardock never would become the Super Saiyan God, and if he did, I don't know. I mean, he'd get scrawnier, so why would he beat the Frieza? But then again, the Frieza's a man with... It's very difficult. I would just say Bardock wins, because why the hell not?
I mean... This is hard, because, I mean, we don't know how much Super Saiyan God multiplies. And it's not canon anyways, this is a fictional fight. But, I mean, I'd say maybe... Bardock, considering how much Goku... If Super Saiyan God Goku is so much stronger than a Super Saiyan 3 that he could be knocked out in a chop to basically fighting on par with 70% of Beerus, that leads me to believe that Super Saiyan God Bardock would have been at least enough to beat Frieza. So I'm going to have to go with Bardock there. Take this next one, Harold.
Super Saiyan 2 Bardock versus third form Frieza. I mean, probably, again, I mean, if Bardock had the 10,000 the power level, and you multiply that by the 100, that would be 1 million. So I assume that he would lose.
Very good point, Harold. I mean, if you want to go by Super Saiyan multipliers, if Bardock was a 10,000, even if he was a 20,000, you got to consider that if you multiply his power level by, by 50 times, let's just say he got a Zenkai boost, theoretically, I know it's not true, but if he theoretically got another Zenkai boost and was at even 20,000, to just even further exaggerate this point, a power level of 1 million, I mean, that's like around the strength of Frieza's second form. So, I mean, we don't know how much his third form is, but considering how easily Frieza was dominating Piccolo, I would say Frieza was a good deal stronger. So that leads me into believing that because of all of that, I don't even think Bardock's Super Saiyan 2 would beat third form Frieza if it's only a 2 times multiplier of a Super Saiyan.
You'd arguably be weaker than the second form of Frieza, considering that, I mean, 100 times 10,000 is 1 million, and I mean, it would be 2 million if he did the, the Super Saiyan 2 at 20,000, which I'm assuming that, Frieza's third form is much better than 2 million, who knows?
Yeah. That's a good point. So that does show you that, I mean, Super Saiyan 2 really doesn't mean that much. I mean, if you're just going by the strict multipliers, if you have a weak power. So that's a very good point. Alright, let's see. Alright, let's spitball these last few questions. Did Yamcha ever get stronger than a Cyberman?
I mean, come on, what are you doing? You kidding me right now? Yeah, come on, obviously he got stronger than the Cyberman. I mean, come on, the freaking little manlet midget Cyberman. You think that the Yamcha could lose to them? I mean, he did because he's a bitch, but come on, let's be serious now.
I mean, Harold, if you really think about it, I mean, kind of to backtrack on Robert's point, Yamcha actually did technically beat that Cyberman in the fight. Like, he did defeat him in battle. I mean,
if he wasn't cocky like he always is, with instead of working out on his picks, then he would have won, but he didn't.
Yeah, I mean, he really got cocky, and that's essentially how he lost. But in terms of fighting, I'd say Yamcha was stronger than the Cyberman even since that. I mean, the Cyberman blew himself up for a reason, so I'd say Yamcha was always stronger than the Cyberman from the Saiyan Saga on. Even if he declined, he can't decline that much. who is stronger in the Cell Saga, Trunks or Vegeta? Very good question. What do you say, Harold?
Trunks or Vegeta? I think in the end that Vegeta might have edged out the Trunks, just because the fact that Trunks had thought he was stronger because of his ultra most muscular form. But of course we all know that when you bulk too much you lose all your speed, and it doesn't make a difference. You lose your technique like Lou Ferrigno when he fought against Arnold Schwarzenegger in the bodybuilding championships of the universe. So yeah, I would say that the Vegeta, despite being a manlet, was better than the Trunks.
I mean, definitely. I mean, Trunks did imply, and Vegeta did say, Vegeta did directly say that Trunks was around his strength. And the reason why I think Trunks felt, I've always felt that Vegeta was a little bit stronger than Trunks, but Trunks felt that he was stronger than Vegeta because he had that extra transformation. And he wasn't aware that Vegeta could theoretically go into that form, even though it was never said he could. It was implied that he could, but he chose not to because he understood its weakness. So that leads me to believe that, you know, Trunks was always at least a little bit weaker than Vegeta, even just a regular ascended form. So I'd say that Vegeta would have been stronger.
I mean, obviously Vegeta would have known if Trunks was stronger in his base and his Super Saiyan form. I mean, Trunks must be stupid if he thought the other, you know, the opposite. If they trained together, how the hell would Vegeta not know?
Yeah, even though in the manga it was, we don't know exactly what happened during their trainings, because the anime implies that they never trained together. So that's one thing that you really, that's a big difference between the series. And then this one here, since Krillin beat Goku in a fight at the end of GT, doesn't that mean Krillin is the strongest fighter in the universe?
I mean, Krillin has the hottest bitch in the universe, but that doesn't mean him the strongest.
Yeah. And I mean, if you also consider like Krillin's previous girlfriend, even though she was a filler character, she was quite a looker too. Master Roshi definitely enjoyed her company, didn't he?
We could say that, yeah, we could say that Krillin is a manlet and he is pretty scrawny, but he's probably the most hung in the universe, if you know what I'm saying.
Right, so I mean, obviously Goku was just playing around with Krillin. That doesn't mean Krillin's the strongest. Alright, final two questions. Pan versus Krillin. Well, first of all, I'd say that Pan is significantly stronger, considering the fact that, you know, she did damage General Rildo a little bit. She did damage Oceanus Shenron, who I would have believed was stronger than Krillin. And I mean, Pan did hurt Dr. Gero a little bit, and Krillin got trashed by Dr. Gero, and it was implied that Krillin never really trained much after that, except in that little training sequence where he may have sparred with 18 a little bit for that tournament. So I'd say that Pan is considerably stronger than Krillin.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, the little girl is stronger than Krillin. What does that say about him?
Well, I got a quick question for you though, Harold. I'm not sure if you've seen my Twitch streams, but how strong do you think Pan is when she's played by Qaaman? Because from what I've seen, she's been able to take on some really strong characters.
I mean, if Goku is over 9,000, she's probably over 9 quintillion. She could probably beat Golden Frieza to death.
Yeah. I mean, Qaaman did beat Golden Frieza when LeBron HD was fighting him last night, even though it took him at least 50 tries. But yeah, I definitely say that Pan is considerably stronger. And on Xenoverse, give me Pan, and we're gonna have a good fight. Unless you're LeBron HD, or unless you're using a custom character. And for this final question of the day, do you believe Trunks and Goten have Gohan's hidden potential? If not, what the hell is Gohan's hidden potential? Very good question. I'd say that they actually have had more power, and a lot of people disagree with me for saying this. I think Gohan might have had like that whole hidden power to like increase his power whenever he needs it, because Goten and Trunks were never really shown to have that. But in terms of just raw potential, I mean, going Super Saiyan at 7 is more impressive to me than Gohan, because considering how long it took Gohan to do it. And Goten was considerably stronger than Gohan for the majority of Gohan's entire childhood. Obviously, when Gohan came out of the Rose Sat, also referred to as Hyperbolic Time Chamber, he would have been stronger. What do you say to that, Harold?
Yeah, well, obviously, when Gohan walked out of the intense weight training room, he was much stronger than the Goten and the Trunks combined. But at the end of the day, I always viewed it kind of like this. The Gohan always had his little pussy pent-up games within him and never knew how to bring it out. But from the moment they are born, the Trunks and the Goten are able to bring it out. They have far more potential in that way. But I mean, considering how strong they were as little children, when they get as big and strong as me, they're gonna have to be contenders.
And as the final thing, I gotta ask you, Harold, what do you think about the muscular comparisons of the three kids, Trunks, Goten, and Gohan?
Well, obviously, when the Gohan goes to Super Saiyan 2, he's incredibly muscular and aesthetic. He realizes that instead of simply bulking up like that pansy Trunks, he is able to increase his muscles and his speed, as well as his posing techniques, and that is why he's able to beat the badass Cell with his own technique. So yeah, I would assume that he is much more muscular than those scrawny little kids.
Alright. Well, looks like we have enough for today, Harold. You said you got to go to the gym really soon, so I'm going to let you go. But if you guys want to...
I work out 26 hours a day, 47 days a week. I don't even know how that makes sense, but I got enough muscles to back it up.
Well, the thing is, Harold, I mean, you know, I really want my subscribers to, you know, to learn some more about, you know, becoming a lot more muscular. Obviously, you know, a lot of them are inspired by Dragon Ball, so... I know that you're occasionally a guest on Mike from Laughingstock Media's channel, so I'll post a link in the description so you know my subscribers could obviously go check out, you know, Mike from Laughingstock Media, because you know you're a frequent guest on his channel, and I really liked having you on this video today, Harold. I hope you have a great time at the gym later on, buddy.
Yeah, I will. I'll get the pump, the feeling of the calming in the gym.
Oh, and by the way, Harold, could you tell Arnold Schwarzenegger I said hi, by the way?
Yeah, I guess I will, because we are best friends forever.
And will you be back, Harold?
Yes, because I'm the angry Austrian, and I'll be back.
So please remember to rate, comment, and subscribe. And remember, as I always say, to have a great day, guys.
Go, do it now, now.